Hey guys, Dr.shdwpuppet here, and I am doing a demo review of EX's Minwu. This is the first demo review of this kind that I'm going to be doing, and I hope to be doing a lot more of these, so send me feedback through the YouTube link through twitter.com/drshdwpuppet or shdwpuppet@gmail.com. Today we're going to be looking at, like I said, EX Minwu's demo, and Minwu writes to me saying that he feels his team has been having a great deal of difficulty knowing when and how to push, knowing when and how to take advantage of their Uber advantages and their man advantages. He says that sometimes he feels that his team has been getting an advantage and then squandering it completely and not making any use of it whatsoever. So we're going to take a look at what he's talking about, and I've loaded the demo already, and I guess we're just going to hop right into this. So here we go. So we're just waiting for them to get to mid here. So Minwu is one of my mentees, but by no means are these demos limited to people who I am officially mentoring. So anybody can feel free to send me and just hit me up. So here we see they're getting to mid, and we see that Minwu's team here on red is not taking very good height advantage. They're spending a lot of time on the ground, and it's costing them a lot here in terms of the amount of people they have. I think they need to gain more space aerially up onto the crates, and I think that doing that will allow them to put up a better fight at mid. Somehow my binds are messed up, so 1 second, guys. There we go. I'll fix that later. So it really looks like right now that their Team Got Milk here is just going to push right on to last. Not much Minwu's team can do from this point forward. Really, it was them losing mid so harshly and then not responding fast enough, I think, in their defense. I don't think there's anything they could have done anyway, but so let's watch Real's mid rollout here, and then when he gets to mid, we'll separate from it and see what Minwu's team could be doing a little differently. So some decent rollouts from him, pretty much on spot. So separating out here a little bit. We see again that Minwu's team is not taking height advantage. We see that the enemy soldiers are just pretty much honing on top of their faces. However, it seems to be working out pretty decent for them because Got Milk didn't take advantage of the fact that they had the height. Unfortunately, Minwu did die there, and I think we can really point to the fact that Easy got onto the point, spammed out over to where the enemy medic was, and took out the demo man and the medic relatively early as to the reason they won that mid, despite the fact that they took no height advantage whatsoever. So I'd still like to see them doing that, but overall not too bad from them. I think their response time is a little slow getting here to the yard. I know they don't have their medic with them because he went down very early, but that being said, they really do need to try to make better use of the fact that they won the mid and put up a little bit better of a fight here at the yards. As it is, Got Milk pretty much gave it to them, even though they didn't really have to. So we see that Tino is getting Uber way too fast, which means he's running a crits creek right now. There's no way for Minwu to know that, so if he gets crits down here, it's not really his fault, but we'll go over to the Minwu cam. Okay, so there he saw the soldier crits creek, and I think he's responding pretty well, getting really far back. I'd like to see him go into garage instead of traversing the yard there. That was pretty dangerous. Crit rocket could have hit him, or a crit sticky. It should have been a sticky, but unfortunately, I think their demo man was down at the time. So after that pretty fail crits, there's not a whole lot that Got Milk can do. That's one of the real big risks with crits. If you fail, you usually fail pretty damn hard, especially if you're really getting yourself out there like you should be with the crit streak. Minwu is popping his Uber way too early. The further back on Granary last you pop the Uber, the closer to the point you pop the Uber, the more likely you are to be able to capture it. But it was real easy. There was only 2 people up. Nothing Got Milk really could have done there. Let's watch Real's rollouts again. I know a lot of the demo viewers, the demo players and our viewers like to see the rollouts, so we'll be doing that most of the game here. Probably spec a soldier at some point in time. So a really slow rollout from Real. I think that might hurt them here coming into this mid. As you can see, the enemy Demoman's getting the first stickies off, and Real is forced to go around the point, which is pretty suboptimal. I'd like to see him push through the center with his scouts and try to dislodge. Overall, I think that Easy's playing this mid fairly decently. Again, I'd like to see him get the height advantage. The soldiers are from Gotmilk have just been able to get on the point wherever they want, and I can really see that costing Minwu his life. I don't know where Minwu went. There he is. Yeah, see, it's going to cost him his life right here. And that could really easily have been avoided if Easy had taken more height advantage or forced the enemy soldiers back. There's really two ways to approach Granary Mid. You can either take the height advantage and keep it, like Gotmilk has been doing, or you can take the height advantage and really quickly bomb on the enemy team, which is a more aggressive and, in my opinion, more powerful strategy. So right here we see they're setting up at mid. I don't know if anybody peeked out to check what was going on in yards. I think you really need to be doing that. I think Gotmilk is pretty much giving them yards, or at least had it first, and then they realize that they can actually hold further up with it. That being said, it's not necessarily the worst choice in the world, especially from a team of this caliber, where they're not necessarily always going to execute it perfectly. There's nothing wrong with playing it a little slow and a little smarter. So one thing I don't like is how far up Real is playing without much of a support from a soldier. One scout's not really going to be able to keep off an enemy soldier or something that really trying to dive bomb in on the demo man, and a soldier for a demo man is a good pick anyway. But overall, decent position here. I like putting a soldier up on crates. Let's see, where's the other soldier? Oh, he's actually in the choke. I don't like that positioning as much. But overall, not too bad of a defense here. This is I really like here, the demo man peeking up, trying to get to my spam out. By doing that, see how he's pushing back the enemy combo, keeping them at bay. This is really going to allow Minwu to pop in the Uber and be much more effective with it, which I hope he does pretty soon here. Getting some nice spam out, got a pick on the scout. That's not really enough to push per se, but that in addition to the spamming out a little earlier was a good reason to start peeking out and applying pressure, and a team that has more experience will understand and realize that, which is something I hope everybody else who's listening in does as well. So not much going on here. Pretty much the standard Granary stalemate. Easy lost their opportunity to push, so now they have to regain it. Putting that demo spam is really helpful. Calling out that a demo man's kind of overextended is also a really good call, because that will allow a demo man to spam out through that little hole in the wall and do a lot of damage. Here we see Minwu's team getting really aggressive here, popping the Uber at kind of a bad angle, and then taking their time with it here in the show. This is a really bad spot to have the Uber be popped, and they really need to get out with it. Yeah, see, they're just going to get spammed out and killed right here. Alright, so we're going to take our first pause here and talk about what happened here for a second. As we can see, Minwu's team popped the Uber first and seemingly took the aggressive stance, but really what happened was that they just fell apart by popping at a bad time, popping in a bad place, and popping under odd circumstances. I don't know if Minwu got forced necessarily, but one of his soldiers was getting very weak, and so he had to pop to save, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but then they took way too long spending their time in this area right here, where they couldn't really do very much at all. Instead, I would like to see them take this Uber out through the garage, through this little choke area, and out into the yards where they can combat a little easier. As I said, they got popped at an awkward time and an awkward angle where their demo man was kind of unable to really assist in the battle because of this tight little spammy choke space here. He had to stay really far back or die, and he chose death, actually. So overall, just a bad engagement on Minwu's team's part here, and Gotmilk didn't really have to do anything to really defend. They just had to pop and keep the enemy team in this little subspace right here. That being said, the opposite is true for when you're defending yards. If you pop the enemy team in this little space right here and then counter pop immediately to save people, you can find yourself oftentimes having a longer lasting Uber by only having to pop one person, maybe two if somebody gets two in the way. You notice that your flank, since this is the main flank area, is fairly secure, so long as you keep a soldier over by the other choke. you should be pretty much fine until for the duration of the Uber, at which time you can push back because you know nobody has gotten behind you because you have secured all exits. So if you're, in short, if you're defending yards, your objective needs to be to pop them early through this choke, if you're even on Uber. And if you're attacking yards, your objective needs to be to get the hell out of this space that we're looking at right now and push your way through and into the yards. So we're going to resume here. Right now, Got Milkers has to push on to second, yeah. I think Drazen was trying to pick their medic. Obviously, not much he can do, he's a scout. Maybe a really super sick DMing scout would be able to do that, but I can't blame him for trying. So now Minwu, he's got to know he's disadvantaged. I don't know if he knows how the extent of it, 50%, but that's the sort of thing that you develop with time and skill as a medic. So we're seeing Minwu just hold his soldiers up, which is good. Actually, no, he's holding back now, calling back the scout. Kind of you need to do that to kill the scout, but he needs to return his players up as far as possible, as soon as possible, because the further back the enemy team pops their Uber, the harder of a time it is for them to push the point. So here we see they're actually popping the Uber, and they oblige Minwu's team by popping really early. What Minwu needs to do is he needs to get his entire team back for this point right now, and actually a few seconds ago he spent all that time popping, and try to defend the point from people who are dive bombing it. That's really the only way to defend this point. As you can see, they're doing a fairly good job by just protecting the point, spamming down onto the point, and killing people. I'd like to see them try to push out a little bit here, apply a little bit of pressure. Obviously kill this scout first, now that the scout is dead, but they are unfortunately taking too long, and it is now way past the time which they could have done that. So really what Minwu's team did here was they just reset the Uber advantage, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. However, Minwu needs to realize that his team now has, or should have, the Uber advantage. Yeah. He's taking his time getting Uber, not building, but he needs to realize that they're at least very close in Uber and hold much, much further up. By making them pop through this door, holding a soldier right where this soldier is right now, holding another soldier over the other side or up top, and have your demo man kind of spread out your heavies so that they can't get all focused at the same time down by the Uber, and have your scouts roaming around, you can really protect all the chokes, and by default protecting the point because nobody can get in. I don't want those stickies on that point. I want those stickies either on this door, or something I've been liking to do a lot more and more lately is putting a soldier up top, or putting a demo man up top. I think he can hold the upper pretty decently with a scout buddy, and it frees up a soldier to hold down here where I think they're a lot more able to do a lot of work. Here comes the Uber pop. Minwu pops after Got Milks, but he doesn't really make good use of it by keeping them back. Instead, they all fall down to the point and send a scout to back cap. Sending a scout to back cap is very, very risky. I think it's going to pay off here. Actually, no, he didn't make it, but I think he separated the enemy team enough that it really did wonders for them. So now that Got Milk is 2 down, Easy really needs to push in here. They did a decent defense. Obviously need to take care of that soldier. I don't know if Minwu called that. I don't have the mumble comms, but it's unfortunate. It happens sometimes, but that's what happens when you don't send somebody through upper. I can directly point to this push failing because nobody went through the upper areas. You need to send somebody through all 3 doors to make sure that no scouts are getting behind, to make sure that no soldiers are hiding in the upper to get flanks. It's absolutely vital that you do that. So overall, Minwu's team isn't in a terrible position. Obviously, they have to wait 7 seconds to have full spawns, but I don't think Got Milk is in a position really to take advantage of that fact. And in fact, no, they're not. So I would like to see, especially with this heavy on the point, nothing's going to be able to cap the point in the amount of time you can get back. So I would love to see Minwu's team holding much, much further up. Leave that heavy to the point. And in fact, I think I would sacrifice a scout for the heavy instead of a soldier. I think that's what it's the roamer currently on that heavy, and a heavy is really good, but soldiers are really powerful in Granary, and having that soldier to defend the doors with is really important. However, we see that Minwu's here is trying to push in, knowing that they had killed a medic, this is not a bad move, but again, nobody went through upper. Nobody checked through upper, and nobody secured this upper flank, which allowed them to get flanked by the soldier in this demo really, really easily. A soldier can hold this door with the utmost of ease, with a little bit of buffs and a little bit of heals. As we see right there, South just destroyed their demo man with little to no trouble whatsoever. So they were able to cap this point, but it was really messy. They lost a lot of people, including their medic right there. I think that South needed to have not jumped up. Instead, they needed to have a better read on the situation that everybody was up there and back out through this door right here. So right now, it's actually looking really dire for Easy's team because they're 3 down, that heavy having just gone down. Sure, their Got Milk is sacrificing one by one into the point, but the scouts were really good at picking up the demo man, and with that Uber advantage, it wouldn't have mattered anyway. Eventually, Got Milk would have been able to take that point quite easily, even if they had waited. So that was a direct result of them not taking the upper balcony while pushing second, I think, is what we can really point to, having lost that round, excuse me. So here we see we're going to follow Meat Sweets in. He's the roamer and not the equalizing soldier, so fairly standard soldier rollout on Granary. The rollouts on Granary are really easy. So here we are, and we see that really early, EX's soldier gets on the point, and he gets quickly focused off because there's only one soldier doing that. However, a nice flanking maneuver from EX really puts the pressure on Got Milk. But I would have to say that I would sacrifice the flanking for the height advantage, because the soldiers from Got Milk were just able to completely destroy and dominate on Easy and make them look up while their scouts just sort of ran around and cleaned up Real and Minwu. So again, this is just going to look like a fairly straightforward push from Got Milk. They have the 100% Uber, they have everybody up. It's just, I don't see them messing this up really, and it's unfortunate, but the reality of Granary is that it's really hard to defend after you've done such a miserable job of securing mid. So Got Milk here pops the Uber really close to the point. As we can see that their Uber here is super effective because they're fighting on the point with invincibility, and Easy cannot afford to ignore the point. They're really able to do whatever the hell they want. A little back cap happened, but overall, there was nothing really that Easy could do there with that 100% Uber advantage. I think we can point to Got Milk doing exactly the right thing by holding onto this Uber and everybody stacking onto the point instead of focusing on getting the kills around the yards, around the last point. Let's see what Drazen's going to do, man. I think we're just going to hold on to his cam the entire time. He hasn't been doing very much, so actually we're going to watch Wash Times. He's been doing a little bit more in this game. So Wash Times has taken this height advantage really early, which is good, but he needs to be defending his demo man. I would leave that to the soldiers. As you can see, he got taken out pretty handily when he jumped down to actually join the fight. However, the soldier ward here I can see from Easy almost had them win the point, and maybe with some good pipe action, some good DM, no, it doesn't look like it. So really what made them lose there, Easy lose there, was the fact that they lost a scout so early, which left their demo man in kind of an awkward position where he had to back out to the sides and not contribute to the fight directly. Having that demo man spam at the mid fight is of utmost importance, and I think it's in fact, maybe aside from gaining lateral advantage with your soldiers, the most important aspect of a mid fight on Granary. So here we see Got Milk just kind of chilling at the doors. Let's see what Easy's doing here. They're holding kind of in an awkward position here. We can see Minwu's getting chased into the side area, which is very bad considering he does not have Uber yet. He wants to be holding closer to this door here, where he can't get spammed out and killed as easily, especially if you're going to be taking a defensive position. So Real getting way too far ahead of himself. So now it's just Drazen and Medic. Sniper Medic is not exactly an adequate defense force for a last point. I like that Easy was trying there to defend the yards, but their execution is very poor. Their positioning needs to be more aware of what their situation is. And so here we see that, you know, the Uber trade on point, Minwu clutching that Uber out. It's looking pretty grim for them, but however, Got Milk's combo kind of spend a lot of time in this area right here where you can't do anything. This is like a dead zone in Granary Last where nothing really happens. Fortunately for them, and unfortunately for Easy, our heroes, it didn't end up going so hot. So I think with some better action on their part from taking some more space here and up on top of this pipe here, they could have easily defended this point much better. Let's watch Real to mid once more, and we are seeing him go through Garage, which is, on Granary, it doesn't really matter which way your man goes because he needs to be getting to the point anyway. Garage is a little more exposed to the scouts. Real is just taking too long. He spent too much time in Garage where he needs to go through this little tiny choke. That being said, his team is doing a lot of work by baiting the enemy team back into them, which is kind of a risky proposition, especially for Minwu here. As you can see, he goes down. On Granary mid, it's not so vital that you keep your medic alive. He's probably going to die. He obviously needs to do everything he can to stay alive, and I don't think he's doing that. But it's more important for him to get out the heals, which he was doing. I liked that mid from Easy, even if I didn't. I like the execution, even if I didn't necessarily like the strategy so much. So here they're just going to be able to take second, and this is kind of an awkward position for them where they don't have their medic yet. He just spawned, hasn't started building Uber, at a slight disadvantage, but it's nothing that Got Milk is really going to be able to push on. And this sort of position is one that a lot of teams will find themselves in very frequently. Easy's team did very well in pushing without their medic, something that I think more teams of this skill level need to consider more often, that a team is not completely useless without their medic, so they need to do something more about it. Taking this height advantage is very good on the defensive second, and basically the situation here is that the enemy team has a sniper, so Minwu needs to be very careful. He needs to either be hiding right here, or if you're feeling particularly ballsy, standing right about here can keep you safe from a sniper, although this is a very risky spot for people running in from there and trying to one-off your medic. So now that both teams have Uber, it's time to stop losing people needlessly. You need to make sure that, yeah, this sort of thing right here can't happen. This is looking pretty bad for Minwu's team because even though they still have the Uber, they didn't use it on the point. I think this would have gone a lot differently had Minwu been in a more aggressive position and able to Uber his soldier on the point much faster. I think it would have been a lot harder for Got Milk to push there. So Minwu got forced and unfortunately didn't do much. I think he's running Kritzkrieg actually, is he? Yes, he is. Never mind. He's running Kritzkrieg. So there wasn't a whole lot he could do there. He did get the sticky through the Z and pick off, you know, the medic combo, which enabled him to do a lot of work here. But it was more so the post Kritzkrieg positioning on Got Milk's part that really allowed them to take advantage there. And so this is pretty much just a straightforward attack on the last tier. They're doing fairly well that round. A nice strong mid. A huge mistake they made was losing second. That didn't need to happen, but overall, not a bad round from Easy, obviously, since they won it. Let's watch South here. South's actually really slow. We're not going to watch him. Let's watch Real. So Real's getting to mid nice and on time here, getting that health back, but he falls back, which seemed like it might save him a lot of health, but really what it's doing is it cost him a lot of health, it cost him a lot of space, and it cost him a lot of spam potential at mid. I can really point to Real being a very weak player here on this team because of his actions at mid, because of his his urge to stay back and not do very much at all. So that's kind of an unfortunate situation for him, but you know, overall, you know, points-wise, he's not doing too bad. He's getting a lot of kills, doing a lot of work outside of mid, but you know, that's not enough. He's got to clean up his mid fights a little better. So really here, Easy needs to realize that they're severely disadvantaged, and I think a mid hold with some yard pressure is apt. They've got a scout kind of behind them, and he's not going to be able to do very much, but this mid hold, this yard hold here, needs to be a little bit more defensive in nature. I think Minwu has his team positioned in kind of an awkward space where they're kind of halfway between aggressive, which would be up here, and defensive, which would be back here with your medic kind of hanging around by this door. I would like to see Minwu's team take better advantage of the fact that they know how the game's going and hold back a little further. Now that they've got the Uber, they're free to hold where they are now. This is kind of a bad position for the soldier. It seems kind of cutesy, it seems kind of good, but you know, if Gotmilk decides to Uber in on them, this soldier is completely 100% useless. And oh, actually, they decide to go for the flank here, and that makes this soldier even more useless. He was completely unable to join the battle for the longest time. Minwu did good by not dropping to that surprise, but his team's positioning so spread out and so and not really watching every potential flank opportunity really hurt them. I think the flank needs to be watching at least a little bit this thing, and that could have been avoided much better. So here we see Gotmilk. Well, they won that pretty handily, so they're just going to push out here into yards, and honestly, I don't see Gotmilk losing this round. Yeah, I mean, they're just picking off one by one. Easy really needs to be more careful about how they're defending, and when they are on the back foot like this, they need to not lose so many people one by one, especially having not gotten anything, especially not getting the medic, not getting the demo man, not really delaying the push by any means. Gotmilk needed to avoid it for the Uber here. Pushing it at this time is not really going to help them any, and instead they're just kind of chilling out here, taking a lot of spam damage, and they just have to back right on out anyway. Instead, if they had waited a few seconds for the Uber, they could be pushing right now and be a real threat to Easy. So, Easy knows that they're at an Uber disadvantage, and I think the correct move right here is to hold further up by the doors, even though they don't have Uber yet, because they need the enemy team to pop the Uber so quickly. It's worth it to sacrifice a soldier, maybe even the medic, for that quick pop. Instead, they're holding really defensively, and they're going to allow Gotmilk to take whatever space they want. See, this soldier's position right here is really good. I like that, where it was before, not where he is now. Too much roaming around, not enough area control, and as we can see, almost the entire team is on the left-hand side of the map right here. The only person on the right-hand side is now the sniper and a scout, but all the heavy classes are focused on this side of the map right here, which is not going to do them any favors when it comes time to maybe push back, or if there's an Uber trade at the doors. Tino apparently got picked very early by a sniper or something, dropped the Uber, and that allows Easy to push right on the point here. I'm not really focusing on much of the action because this is a demo analysis and not a shoutcast, but again, they didn't take this upper space here. They didn't have anybody sent up here, which is allowing this demo man to do a lot of work. I think it's going to end up pretty decently here for EX. Actually, no, they're just going to be forced back out. So they didn't go too badly. They made an attempt on point, and until this very last second here where they start losing a lot of people to the scout. Because the demo went down and they don't have any soldiers up because Meat Sweets is a heavy. Before that it was going pretty well, but I cannot emphasize enough that going up through here into the upper space is of utmost importance if you want your team to be able to be successful. So here we're seeing a fairly defensive hold, and the medic just spawned for Easy. Again, they need to be holding further up. I'm actually kind of liking the demo man's position right here, supporting his sniper, but he backs up way too much here, taking too defensive a position. He's inviting himself to get jumped very easily. And again, there's nobody on this side here. This side is, in my opinion, the easier the sides to push on, and in the past through this game, Minwu's team has seen that Gotmilk likes to push to this side, so it would make sense to me that they would react to that situation and station somebody here to make them pop through this door. Unfortunately, that's not what they're doing, and instead they have the Uber, and it looks like they're just going to be waiting around with it, which is really the only thing you can do in this sort of position. So like I said, this is a spot you can stand if you don't want to get sniped. It's a very aggressive spot, and a soldier can just kind of walk into here and pop up the medic and make them force the pop or something, or maybe even make them die if the medic's really not paying attention. But overall, it's not like a terrible positioning. The medic isn't being very useful, not healing his team. There's not a whole lot he can see from this perspective, which, you know, is useful when there's a sniper, but again, I wish they take a little bit more space. And see, this is the exact sort of thing that can happen here with South pushing up here, forcing the pop on Tino. That's exactly why this is not exactly the best spot to be standing for a long period of time. Again, nobody took this upper space. It didn't hurt them this time because nobody actually was up here. But since that is a strategy that GotMilk's team has been doing so frequently, I'd like to see Easy at least pretend they have a little bit of game sense here and send somebody up there. Really send somebody up there. Alright, so they're just going to cap mid here. They're looking in a fairly commanding position. They have a small Uber advantage. They need to stick together a bit more. That was just sloppy work on their part. They need to send somebody to this crate here to defend it, to watch that door, to call for any impending jumpers, and they need to make sure that their team is a little more clumped together while capping that point. Right now it's just this Heavy on the point, and Heavy is ridiculously good, but not going to be able to actually cap that point on his own. Well, he does get the cap, but I mean, he can't defend that on his own. What he did allow is his team to get the forward, everybody except Minwu, unfortunately, and so that's not bad, but they don't have a medic here. They know GotMilk has a huge Uber advantage. Minwu needs to be calling for his team to back out, play a little bit more defensively. I mean, there's not a whole lot that Easy's going to be able to do from this point in time. You know, they don't have the Uber advantage, they don't have the man advantage, they don't have the positional advantage. They need to be holding more defensively. But GotMilk doesn't look like they want to pressure with this Uber any, which I think is a mistake. Are they gonna try to push through here? This sort of angle for a push is awkward, but can be very effective, especially if the medic is holding as aggressively as Minwu is. They can get a quick jump in here, quickly kill the medic, quickly kill the demo man, and clean up with their scouts and soldiers plus demo man if they're still alive. A really smart push that needs to be executed very, very, very well if you want to be able to be successful in it. But as we see here, GotMilk allowed Easy to get the Uber. South getting a little too aggressive. Trading a soldier for that scout is not really the best of ideas. Minwu got forced on the pop, and actually they were trying to push in. Minwu got forced to push in. I think they're pushing in, yeah, because there's only 20 seconds left in the game. So this game's pretty much over. So I think we're going to start wrapping it up here because most of the actions from this point forward are, you know, because there's no time left on the clock. So it's not really going to be indicative of smart play or anything really to analyze. So kind of wrapping it up here as GotMilk gets the victory here. I think that these two teams were very, very close. I think that the big things that Minwu's team needed to do to be able to secure that victory, or at least put up a better of a fighting chance, was be more aware of their positioning when they're at a severe Uber disadvantage. They need to be more aware of where they're standing when they're pushing, where they're standing when they're getting pushed, and in general just working on understanding how your position is directly related to what sort of aggressive stance you're taking, aggressive or defensive stance you're taking. A lot of teams just kind of loiter around in various spots because they see other teams do it. They're like, oh, this is the standard spot for a team to be standing on this kind of map. So they just stand around in the chokes. They just stand around defensively or offensively without really paying attention to why they're standing there or what prompts that sort of positioning based on advantage and disadvantage. And that's what really separates a team from, say, Minwu's skill level from a higher skill level, maybe winning open, maybe playing an intermediate, is taking advantage of advantages, understanding the situation, and responding correctly with the positioning. In addition, I think that Real needed to do more work on mid. I think he was too insistent on backing out way too early, and I think that the soldiers need to take more vertical space on top of the crates, spamming down putting a lot of pressure on the enemy team, and I think if they do that, they'll be a lot better in the future. So this has been Dr.shdwpuppet talking about Easy's Minwu and a demo review of them versus Got Milk on Granary. If you want me to do this for your demos, send them to @shdw.puppet@gmail.com with, you know, a little bit of introduction, what you think your team's doing wrong, what you need my specific help with. Maybe in the future we'll work on getting a guest in here, maybe somebody from the team that we're interviewing, maybe a higher level player. And in the future, I think I want to do this a lot more, maybe once or twice a week, so I'm going to need a lot of content. You can follow me on Twitter @drshdwpuppet. Alright, thanks for watching, everybody, and I hope to see you next time.